The journey of semen retention is not just about conserving a physical substance. It's about guarding the gates of your consciousness. Lust doesn't begin with the body. It begins with the mind. The world constantly bombards you with images, sounds, and ideas designed to ignite desire. From social media scrolls to suggestive advertising, the roots of lust are sown in the soil of your subconscious before you're even aware. This is where the war begins, not on the outside, but within the unseen realms of your thoughts and emotions. Lust, when unexamined, acts like a parasite. It hides beneath your daily thoughts and masks itself as need, hunger, or even affection. But lust in its raw form is not love. It is a distortion of love, a manipulative force that feeds on spiritual ignorance. When left unchecked, it gradually corrupts your perception of women, relationships, and even yourself. And most dangerously, it clouds your soul, distancing you from divine awareness and your inner purpose. The first shield must be awareness. You cannot protect yourself from what you don't understand. Recognize how lust arises, not just when you see something provocative, but when you're stressed, bored, lonely, or spiritually disconnected. These are the gateways. This is how negative patterns sneak in. They rarely knock loudly, they whisper, they disguise, they infiltrate. Begin to observe your triggers with honesty, without judgment. Only through awareness can true transformation begin. Understand also that lust is a symptom, not the core disease. It often masks unresolved wounds, emotional pain, insecurity, abandonment, or the longing to feel powerful or desired. This is why spiritual practices are essential. Without deep inner work, you'll be fighting surface fires while the roots continue to grow underground. Prayer, meditation, shadow work, and self-inquiry are tools that reveal the deeper story behind your lust. So, shielding your soul begins with a shift from blame to responsibility. You are not weak for having lustful thoughts, but you are responsible for not letting them rule you. This path is not about suppression, it's about redirection. Lust, when transformed, becomes creative energy, sacred desire, and even divine devotion. In semen retention, you conserve this powerful energy not just for discipline, but for evolution. Mental pollution and its spiritual cost. In today's hypersexualized society, the mind is under constant attack. It's not just the explicit content that harms, it's the subtle normalization of lust that wears down your mental armor. Every time you scroll through suggestive reels, watch music videos drenched in seduction, or consume content designed to provoke, you're feeding the roots of lust unconsciously. This is mental pollution, and like toxins in the air, it accumulates invisibly but destructively. Mental pollution leads to energy fragmentation. Every lustful thought disperses your spiritual power, scattering it into ungrounded desires and imagined fantasies. The mind, when caught in loops of lust, loses clarity and presence. You may find it harder to focus, to meditate, or to connect with others authentically. Why? Because your energy is being hijacked by phantom cravings that don't fulfill, they only demand more. This is the spiritual cost. The more you indulge in lustful patterns, the more disconnected you become from your higher self. Your intuition fades, your inner peace becomes disturbed, and your vibrational frequency lowers. You begin to chase stimulation rather than seek depth. In time, this can make you numb to beauty, love, and the sacredness of your own being. This is not just a loss of purity, it's a spiritual amnesia. The antidote is energetic hygiene. Just as you clean your body daily, you must cleanse your mind. Practice digital fasting. Filter your feed. Protect your attention like it is gold, because it is. Create rituals that elevate your consciousness. chanting mantras, bathing in silence, reading sacred texts. These practices don't just protect you, they rewire your brain, raising your vibrational baseline so that lower desires no longer appeal to you. Remember, the mind is a garden. If you do not plant intentional thoughts, weeds will grow. Do not expect purity in your actions if your inputs are impure. Guard your gates, eyes, ears, and thoughts. This is how you honor your soul and protect the divine energy rising within you through semen retention. It's not about fear, it's about frequency.
The magnetic pull of higher desires. As you continue the practice of semen retention, you'll begin to feel a magnetic pull, not toward lust, but towards something higher. This shift doesn't happen overnight, but when it does, you'll notice that your desires begin to purify. What once tempted you now seems hollow. You begin to long not for pleasure, but for purpose, not for escape, but for expansion. Higher desires are those aligned with your soul's growth. They may still involve passion, creativity, and love, but they come from a place of fullness, not hunger. You begin to desire connection over conquest, contribution over consumption. The energy you once wasted on lust begins to nourish your dreams, your discipline, and your divine path. This is where true transmutation begins. Semen retention is not suppression, it is alchemy. When lust arises, you don't push it away with shame. You acknowledge it, then redirect the energy into something sacred. Building your body, writing your vision, meditating deeper, praying with sincerity. This is how you transform base desire into spiritual fuel. But be warned, the pull of lust will still return, especially when you level up. Why? Because every new level demands a new version of you. Lust will test you at your thresholds. It will tempt you when you are most tired, most alone, or most victorious. This is why spiritual vigilance is necessary. Don't fight lust only when it roars. Resist it even when it whispers. And so, the higher path is not about avoiding temptation, it's about becoming so spiritually full that temptation has no space to land. This is the journey of semen retention. This is spiritual sovereignty. You no longer react, you respond. You no longer chase, you attract. And what you attract is no longer rooted in lust, but in light. Conscious rewiring, training the mind to serve the soul. To shield your mind from lust, you must train it like a warrior trains his sword. The brain is malleable. Every time you resist lust and redirect, you're carving new neural pathways. This is neuroplasticity in action. But just like building muscle, it requires repetition, discipline, and discomfort. You're not just removing lust, you're replacing it with divine focus. One powerful method is affirmation anchoring. Speak truths that counter your old programming. When lustful thoughts arise, say, I am not this desire, I am awareness itself. Or, this energy is sacred and I choose to elevate it. Affirmations aren't magic, but they interrupt patterns and plant seeds. Over time, your default reaction begins to change. Another method is conscious visualization. Each morning, visualize your higher self walking through the world, calm, focused, radiant. See him interacting with women not as objects but as divine beings. See him choosing integrity over indulgence. This imprints a new identity in your subconscious mind. Because to truly shield your mind, you must first reshape who you believe you are. Breathwork also plays a vital role. When lust surges, your breath becomes shallow. This feeds anxiety and makes it harder to think clearly. Through deep conscious breathing, you ground your energy and recenter your awareness. The breath is your anchor in storms of temptation. It reminds you that you are spirit, not the stories in your mind. The truth is, your mind can become your ally or your enemy. If left untrained, it will serve ego and impulse. But when guided with love and strength, it becomes the very sword that protects your soul. In semen retention, you're not just holding energy, you're training your vessel to carry higher voltage, and for that, your mind must be pure, sharp, and surrendered to the divine. spiritual immunity, becoming untouchable by lower frequencies. As you continue walking the path of semen retention and spiritual growth, you will begin to develop what can be called spiritual immunity. Just as the body builds antibodies against viruses, the soul begins to repel lower vibrations when it is consistently nourished by truth, discipline, and divine focus. You become less reactive, more grounded, and harder to manipulate. Women will still sense your energy. Opportunities for lust will still arise, but you no longer respond from compulsion. You respond from consciousness. The space between thought and action widens, and in that space, you choose. That is real freedom, not the absence of temptation, but the power to transcend it. This immunity comes from alignment. When your thoughts, words, and actions align with your spiritual values, your aura becomes strong. You no longer feel the need to explain yourself or justify your choices. Your silence speaks. Your presence protects. This is what ancient yogis and mystics cultivated, not to isolate themselves, but to move through the world untouched by its illusions. However, humility is key. Even the most disciplined soul can fall if pride enters. Guard your practices with grace, not arrogance. Celebrate your victories in silence. Continue learning, refining, and deepening. The journey is eternal, and the ego always waits for a moment of weakness. Stay anchored in prayer, service, and gratitude. So, to shield your soul from lust and negative thought patterns is not to escape life, but is to embody it fully, consciously, and sacredly. You're not suppressing your desires, you're sanctifying them. You're not afraid of the world, you're walking through it with divine armor. And this is the ultimate power of semen retention. Not just control over desire, but communion with your highest self.
Emotional alchemy, transforming pain into presence. One of the hidden roots of lustful thinking is unresolved emotional pain. Often, men turn to lust not because they are overpowered by desire, but because they are unconsciously trying to escape inner emptiness, loneliness, or lack of emotional validation. Lust becomes a quick and temporary anesthetic for deeper wounds. But no matter how much you feed it, the hunger remains, because the real craving is for wholeness. Emotional alchemy is the process of facing this pain with awareness and compassion. Instead of running from your emotional shadows, you welcome them. Instead of hiding your sadness or insecurity behind fantasies, you bring them into the light of your consciousness. Every time you sit with your discomfort, instead of distracting yourself with lust, you transmute energy. You evolve. Begin by asking, what am I truly feeling right now? And what am I trying to avoid through this fantasy? Write it down. Feel it fully. This is the sacred act of witnessing. The pain doesn't get healed by denial, but by presence. Just as fire transforms wood into light, your inner attention transforms wounds into wisdom. As you heal emotionally, your desires become clearer and more authentic. You start to see women not as a means to soothe your brokenness, but as reflections of love, creation, and the divine feminine. This shift is essential in semen retention, not because you are avoiding women, but because you are redefining how you relate to them, no longer through need, but through reverence. So many men fail on this journey because they try to suppress lust without addressing the underlying emotional hunger. True power comes when you no longer run from yourself. This is the real protection, not building walls, but creating space within to hold and heal all that arises. Emotional alchemy makes you spiritually unshakable and sexually sovereign. Sexual energy as spiritual currency. Every thought, emotion, and desire carries a frequency. Sexual energy is among the highest voltage energies in the human system. When used unconsciously, it drains you, but when retained and directed, it becomes spiritual currency. You start manifesting not just ideas, but realities.
This is why semen retention isn't just a physical practice, it's a spiritual economy. Just as you wouldn't waste your money on empty pleasures, you must also become wise with your energy. Ask yourself, where is my energy going? What am I investing in? The answer will tell you whether you're building a kingdom or wasting your inheritance. Sexual energy, when aligned with purpose, opens doors. Opportunities appear. People feel your presence. You glow differently. Think of your sexual energy like a divine river. When undisciplined, it floods the land, causing chaos. But when channeled with intention, it nourishes, creates, and sustains life. Medication, focused work, creative arts, service, and spiritual devotion are the channels. These allow your energy to rise, purify, and expand. You don't lose the power of sex, you evolve it. This is the foundation of manifestation. Lust ties your energy to the lower chakras, fear, survival, domination. But transmutation lifts it into your heart and crown. Now you begin to manifest love, vision, truth. Women sense this frequency not as lust, but as presence, and presence is magnetic. It's not what you say, it's what you radiate. When you guard your seed, you're not just holding back, you're trading instant gratification for divine multiplication. What you protect grows in power. What you honor begins to serve you. And so your sexual energy becomes your currency for spiritual wealth, magnetic relationships, and divine alignment.
The sacred feminine and the rise of discernment. To truly shield your mind and soul, you must also transform your relationship with the feminine. Lust distorts the feminine into a body, an object, a fantasy. But the sacred masculine sees the feminine as energy, as mystery, as mirror. When you see a woman as a soul, not as a source of pleasure, you deactivate the roots of lust at their core. Discernment is the gift that arises from this transformation. You begin to feel who is aligned with your path and who pulls you away from it. You no longer chase every curve. You begin to honor the presence behind the eyes. You start to protect your energy not out of fear, but out of spiritual clarity. This is the power of conscious attraction. The sacred masculine doesn't avoid women, it respects them. It can appreciate beauty without desiring to possess it. It can admire form without becoming enslaved by it. This is true strength, not resistance, but reverence. When you carry this energy, women respond differently. Some will be drawn to your purity. Others may feel exposed, but all will sense your presence. And so you begin to attract women who see your light, not just your body. These women aren't interested in games. They seek soul connection, purpose, and sacred union. Your energy becomes a filter. Lustful women may approach, but they cannot penetrate your field unless you invite them. This is discernment. This is power. The rise of discernment is the fall of delusion. You no longer seek quantity, you seek quality. You no longer look for attention, you seek alignment. And in this way, your semen retention practice becomes not just about you, it becomes a declaration of how you move through the world, what you honor, and who you choose to walk with. The return to wholeness, becoming the guardian of your temple. At the deepest level, shielding your mind and soul is about remembering who you are. You are not a fragmented being. You are whole. Lust tells you that you're lacking, that you need someone or something to feel complete. But semen retention, when practiced with spiritual awareness, becomes the doorway to your original wholeness. Your body is a temple. Your mind is the altar. Your soul is the flame. Every lustful act outside of sacred intention desecrates the temple. But every conscious act of retention, transmutation, and discipline restores its purity. You begin to carry yourself differently. You walk as one who remembers. You become a living reminder of the divine in human form. This return to wholeness doesn't mean perfection. You may stumble, you may fall, but you rise each time with greater wisdom, greater humility, and greater love for the path. You realize that protecting your energy is not just about avoiding sin, it's about embodying the sacred. You are not just fighting lust, you are becoming light. You begin to love yourself beyond performance. You stop comparing, chasing, or proving. You live simply, deeply, and fully. You become magnetic, not because of strategy, but because of sincerity. And in this space, the mind becomes still, the heart becomes open, the soul becomes unshakable. So let this journey not be a cage, but a crown. You are not just a man holding seed, you are a man holding sacred responsibility to rise, to protect, to embody the divine masculine in a world drowning in distraction. You are the guardian of your temple, and your soul, untouched by lust and rooted in light, becomes the very flame that guides others home.